Hi everyone, this is Karen.
Hey everybody, I'm Shane.
Today we're looking at part 1 of surprising geography facts. And the vocabulary words are recall.
Recall.
From what I recall, Colleen's dad is a doctor.
Rainfall.
Rainfall.
The area has an average rainfall of around 30 centimeters per year.
Yearly.
Yearly.
The town's summer festival is held once yearly.
Primarily.
Primarily.
Engine trouble was primarily responsible for the plane crash.
Vast.
Vast.
The library has a vast selection of books to choose from. So we're talking about some surprising geography facts.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like trivia, right? You're kind of learning some interesting facts that maybe are not that useful in everyday life.
But they are interesting, and then they are about our world, so I think it's worth knowing, right?
Yeah, and some are quite surprising. So the first one they talk about is Antarctica being a desert.
And it is. It is the largest desert, right?
Yes, not only it's the largest one, but that seems really strange because when you think of a desert, you don't think of a place that's made of water.
But actually, the definition of a desert, it's actually an area that receives less than 250 millimeters of rainfall annually.
So yeah, that's...
And they only have I think around 170 millimeters of rainfall per year.
Wow. So yeah, it's in fact a desert.
I know, Antarctica.
And then over in Russia, they have 11 different time zones in one country.
Because it is so big, right?
So that actually makes sense. But it's quite surprising. You can call somebody in Russia at one point, and then maybe it's like the next day on the other part of Russia. Usually think it should be the same time zone in the same country.
But even in Canada, it's different time zones too.
In America. But we only have 3. How many do you have?
I don't remember. I have to check.
It's not 11.
It's not 11, definitely.
Okay, let's learn some more interesting and surprising geography
facts.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Surprising geography facts. Most of us can recall some basic geography knowledge, the highest mountain, the deepest ocean, the biggest continent, etc. But for some unexpected facts about our planet, you'll have to read on.
Today's lesson is called Surprising Geography Facts, Part 1. Hello everyone, my name is Jeff.
And I'm Mike, and the world is a fascinating place. Lots of interesting places, lots of interesting facts. So we're going to be looking at some surprising facts about the world, or geography facts, in our 2 days of articles. So what do you say? Let's get going.
Let's get going. Now, most of us can recall some basic geography knowledge, like the highest mountain, Mount Everest, the deepest ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the biggest continent, Asia, etc. Okay? Most of us can recall these things.
Yeah, sure. I remember those from books I read as a kid, from geography class at school. When you recall something, you remember that thing. That's basically all it means. You have that information in your mental hard drive, and you have the ability to pull it out so you can recall your best friend's name in kindergarten, or the name of your first pet, or your dad's birthday, or something like that. You can remember those things. It's information that's there in your mind, and it's easy to pull it up when you need it. From what I recall, Colleen's dad is a doctor. I remember meeting him one day, and his name's Dr. Smith, and he was telling us about working at the hospital. It was 5 years ago, but yeah, I recall that. I remember that.
Not bad. No. Anyways, but for some unexpected facts about our planet, you'll have to read on after a break. We'll see you after the break.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。我们在学校呢都有上地理课，大多数的人都能记得一些基本地理知识。你可能会记得最高的山啊、最深的海洋、最大的洲等等。而这2天的课文是要分享一些令人意想不到的地理冷知识。好，这边有一个单字是 recall。 recall 这个动词表示记得或是回忆起。那当我们在回忆事情的时候，就好像从大脑的硬碟叫出资料，对不对 ？Mike 老师刚刚用到 hard drive 就是指硬碟哦。接回到课文中。
Surprising geography facts. Antarctica is actually the world's largest desert. You might think of sand and camels when you hear the word desert, but a desert is officially defined as an area that receives under 250 millimeters of rainfall yearly. Although Antarctica is a continent composed primarily of water, this water is locked in ice. So, with its annual rainfall at around only 170 millimeters, Antarctica easily falls within the definition of a desert.
Okay, fun geography facts.
And surprising.
And surprising ones too. Yeah. First of all, the biggest desert in the world is in Africa. It's called the Sahara Desert, right?
Yeah.
Wrong. Antarctica is actually the world's largest desert. Yes, you don't have to have sand and heat, okay, and dryness to be a desert. The Sahara Desert is sandy and dry and hot, and it's a really big desert. But Antarctica is also a desert, and it's bigger than the Sahara.
Interesting. But when you go to the zoo, they won't put the penguins with the camels because they're both desert animals. That would be weird, right?
That would not work out well.
But it's true. We don't call it a desert because of all the sand and all the hot sun. We call it a desert. Why? Because there's no rain. Well, you might think of sand and camels when you hear the word desert. Most people do. But a desert is officially defined as an area that receives under 250 millimeters of rainfall yearly. It's not about the temperature, it's not about the hot sun and the hot sand, it's about rainfall, and there's less rainfall in Antarctica, the South Pole, every year than there is in the Sahara
But what
Desert.
about all the snow and the ice and the blizzards and
It's been there forever. It just never goes away. It's so cold.
That's amazing. Yeah. Anyways, when we're talking about rainfall, we're talking about the amount of rain that falls in a certain area over some period of time, okay? When I was growing up, we actually had a gauge outside of our house, okay? And when it rained, okay, that would fill up and it would tell us how much it had rained during that particular storm. If there was a lot of rain, maybe 1 or 2 inches of rain fell over that entire area, that would have been a lot of rainfall. A lot of water fell from the sky. For example, the area has an average rainfall of around 30 centimeters per year.
Oh, okay. Now this, of course, is a word we wouldn't use in our daily lives when talking about the weather, but on a weather report, in a science book, then they would use it. But you wouldn't say, take your umbrella, there will be a lot of rainfall today. You wouldn't use it in that sort of normal daily way. All right, we also had this adverb yearly. When we talk about something that is yearly or happens yearly or occurs yearly, we means it happens each year or in a year, all right? So we're just talking about a year as a period of time. We're using that to measure things, so we're not saying in a decade or in a century, in 100 years, or in a day or a week. In a year, yearly. For example, the town summer festival is held once yearly. So once a year, they have a festival.
Okay, now although Antarctica is a continent composed primarily of water, something we would not associate with deserts usually, this water is locked in ice. There you go. Here we have the adverb primarily. Primarily means for the most part. So, yes, this is a continent that is mostly water. It's composed or made up of water for the most part, or mostly, but the water is in the form of ice or is locked in ice. So it's not really water in the sense that we think of water.
Like rainfall.
It's in solid form. It's not in the form of rain. It's composed primarily of water in ice form. And again, primarily means mostly or for the most part. For example, engine trouble was primarily responsible for the plane crash. Yeah, the engine broke down and the plane fell out of the sky.
Okay, the pilots might have made a few mistakes, but they didn't have a lot of time to fix things, so if the engines hadn't failed, there wouldn't have been a problem. So let's look at Antarctica's rainfall. Remember, less than 250 millimeters yearly makes you a desert. So, with its, Antarctica's, annual rainfall at around only 170 millimeters, a little more than half that number, Antarctica easily falls within the definition of a desert. So I guess it would be safe to guess that the Sahara Desert there in northern Africa might get 180 or 200 millimeters of rain more than Antarctica.
There you go.
Fascinating.
Fun fact number 1 down. But hey, there are more to come after a break.
第一个要介绍的地理冷知识，世界上最大的沙漠不是撒哈拉沙漠，而是南极洲。好，我们先补充一下 desert 这个字呢，它可以指沙漠或是荒漠，像 Sahara Desert 就是撒哈拉沙漠。那刚刚Jeff老师用到 sandy 来形容这个沙漠 ，sandy， sandy 可以形容是铺满沙的。那么课文写到说，当我们听到 desert 这个字呢，可能会想到沙子，想到骆驼。可是荒漠的正式定义是说，年降雨量低于250毫米的地区。那虽然南极洲有冰有雪，它是一个主要是由水组成的大陆，可是它的水是被锁在冰里面，它的年降雨量只有170毫米左右，所以确实是符合沙漠定义的。好，老师刚刚有提到南极洲有暴风雪，老师用到 blizzard 这个字，它是拼作 blizzard， blizzard 就表示大风雪或是暴风雪。好，那么再来看4个单字 rainfall 可以指降雨或是降雨量。Charles 老师说，他们家以前房子外面呢有这个测降雨量的仪器。老师这时候用到 gauge，gauge 可以当名词或当动词。那么当名词表示测量仪表，那它当动词则是表达测量计算的意思。下一个单字 yearly 表示每年底，一年一次底。那我们也可以用这个 annual 也可以形容是每年的，一年一度的。好，再来看下一个单字 primarily 它是表达主要的。那这边还有一个重点是要介绍 think of 的意思。好，我们来看它第一种意思是可以表达想起、记起。那么受词呢，可以是人或是事物，我们也可以用 think about 来表达。例如Tina thinks of her grandmother every time she hears a song. Tina 每次听到那首歌的时候，总是会想起她阿嬷。第二个意思是可以表达认为、觉得，我们常常用 think of 受词 as 加上名词或形容词来表达认为某人或某事物是怎么样的，或是把什么什么当成什么。例如Matt thinks of the job as the opportunity of a lifetime. Matt 认为这个工作是千载难逢的好机会。好，第三个意思是表达想出、想到，像是想到某个主意啊、点子之类的，它就跟 come up with 意思相同。例如Henry tried to think of a way to solve the problem. Henry 试着设法想出那个问题的解决方法。第四个意思呢，可以表达考虑或是为什么什么着想，像是 Dylan never thinks of anyone but himself. Dylan 从来不为任何人着想，他只考虑他自己一个人而已。好，那我们接着回到课文中。
Surprising geography facts. Russia covers 11 time zones. This is because of how vast the world's largest country is. Also notable is that Russia is the only country that borders both Finland in northern Europe and North Korea in East Asia. Russia also controls an island called Big Diomede. It sits less than 4 kilometers from its sister island, Little Diomede, owned by the United States. Although these two islands are geographically close, They sit on either side of the international date line, so they have a 21-hour time difference.
Okay, geography fun fact number 2. And this is going to be surprising. Now, we all know that Russia is big.
Real big.
It's a big country.
Biggest country in the world.
It's by far the biggest country in the world. But get this. Russia covers 11 time zones.
Wow.
11.
But that's like half the world.
That's like half the world.
24 time zones, 24 hours a day.
I think the United States, there's like 3 or 4 time zones at most. And that's not including Alaska. Throw that out of there.
Right.
Russia, 11 time zones.
Wow. Canada's the second biggest country. I think it's like 6.5 time zones or something like that. So Russia is really big, and it's really big in an east-west way, as we can see, because it stretches basically around half the world. Half the world would be 12 time zones. Like from here to New York City, that's 12 time zones.
There you
so
go.
Russia's almost the same size, stretching around the top of the world.
Very big.
It's very big. This is because of course, how vast the world's largest country is. Yeah, there are many words, many adjectives you can use to describe Russia, and vast is certainly a very good one, because vast just means huge, really, really, really big, especially in kind of a geography kind of way, the way something just covers a huge area of land. As you stand on a mountaintop and look out over a jungle or a forest, and it goes until you can't even see anymore, that is a vast forest. So every time I'm in Tokyo, if you go up to the top of a tall building, especially at night, you just see lights until you can't see any further, because Tokyo is a vast city. It's really huge. It covers a massive area of land.
Only one time zone, though.
Only one time zone, Tokyo. That's a very good point. Well, yeah, probably. For example, the library has a vast selection of books to choose from.
Anyways, also notable is that Russia is the only country that borders both Finland in Northern Europe and North Korea in East Asia.
Sure, it's vast.
How about that?
It's vast.
It definitely is vast.
That's right. And
11 time zones.
That's right. And Russia not only covers most of the continent of Asia, it also has a few islands out there in the Pacific Ocean, or maybe the Bering Sea. It says Russia also controls an island called Big Diomede. That island, Big Diomede, sits less than 4 kilometers from its sister island, Little Diomede, owned by the United States. So this is up in that northern part of the Pacific near Alaska and, Siberia or wherever that is in Russia, the very far eastern part of Russia. And actually they control 2 islands that are very close to each other, which isn't a surprise because they almost touch up there in the north. But here's the really interesting part.
Here's the really interesting point. Although these 2 islands are geographically close,
4 kilometers,
they sit on either side of the international date line, so they have a 21-hour time difference.
So if it's Wednesday on Little Diomede, it's Tuesday on Big Diomede, or the other way around.
Because of the international date line. Yeah.
Wow.
How about that?
That's cool.
All right, folks, today's lesson is now in the books, but hey, we're going to come back next time with some more fun facts on geography.
第二个要介绍的地理冷知识，俄罗斯跨越了11个时区。好，俄罗斯幅员辽阔，它是世界上最大的国家。那它也是唯一一个有跟北欧的芬兰和东亚的北韩都有接壤的国家。我们先来看单字 vast，vast 它是形容广大的、巨大的。Mike 老师在解释单字时用到 massive，M-A-S-S-I-V-E 这个字也可以用来形容是巨大的。那么 massive 它也可以形容是大规模的或是大量的。好，另外 border 这个字呢，它当名词表示国界、边界，而在文中呢，它是当动词来表达跟什么接壤、毗邻的意思。例如 What are the countries that border the Mediterranean Sea？ 有哪些国家毗邻地中海呢？ 好，那么课文最后还提到一个有趣的事实，就是说在白令海峡海域呢，有一个大戴奥米德岛，那它是属于俄罗斯，还有一个小戴奥米德岛是属于美国。而这两座岛屿虽然相距不到4公里，但是却在国际换日线的两侧，所以他们其实有21个小时的时差，好有趣哦。好，那么最后补充一下，文中用到 International Dateline 是指国际换日线。那 Mike 老师刚有提到 Bering Sea， 它是指白令海，那 Bering Strait 就可以指白令海峡了。好，以上是这些讲解，同学们别走开，马上回来哦。
Welcome to Yellowstone National Park. I will be your guide. You may not realize it, but Yellowstone is huge. It covers almost 9,000 square kilometers of land. Before it became a national park, few people knew about this part of America. Officials went there to find out more, and they brought an artist with them. The artist made paintings of the area. When the U.S. government saw the paintings, they were impressed by the area's beauty. In 1872, President Ulysses S. Grant officially made Yellowstone the world's first national park. At first, Yellowstone was also called Wonderland. This name came from the popular book Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Still, Wonderland didn't receive many visitors because it was very far out west. A year after it opened, the Northern Pacific Railway was completed. As a result, more people began visiting the park. Now, millions of visitors come to Yellowstone every year.
Here is more information.
Volcano. It's not safe to live near an active volcano. Erupt. The volcano near Rome erupted yesterday. Reptile. Crocodiles are reptiles. Hot spring. Tendi went to a hot spring with her family last weekend. Waterfall. My friends and I are going swimming under a waterfall tomorrow. Hunt. Henry's father taught him to hunt when he was a teenager. Auction. This beautiful house went to auction recently. Lodge. The lodge is famous for its quiet and peaceful surroundings. Campfire. A campfire can keep us warm while we are camping. Feed. Cindy loves her pony and feeds it every morning. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you learned a lot. We'll catch you later.
See you next time!